Oh, dearie me, it's warm.
It's like it's summer.
Oh, I know. That weird month of May.
Yeah, it'll be raining tomorrow.
It will. They said, they specifically said, because this might give you a time indication as to where we're at in recording to this, but so I was reading the news this morning and people flocked to the seaside yesterday because it was very hot. And I won't go into the ethics of that, for example, in this climate, both in the lockdown climate and the weather climate, but they actually said in that same article that it was going to be a bit cloudier today, and it isn't.
So everyone's back at the beach again today.
Everyone's probably back at the beach, probably going, oh, it's a little nippier than yesterday.
Yeah. There's something in the air, a deadly virus.
Yeah, well, so we try not. We won't go into that in too much detail.
We'll just stay in front of the computer.
Do as I told. Do you know? Just before we, you know how I said that somebody's doing the lawn?
Yeah.
It's my dad. So sorry. Again, none of this makes any difference to you listeners.
It's a pretty exciting start to a podcast, though.
It is. Dear. Well, right then. So today we have another chat with another team, and this one is. It's a sensitive one, actually. Really in-depth chat, but also, quite a sensitive subject. That obviously it will be given in the summary at the start of when we start the interview. But it's talking about a film called My Dad Marie, which won Best Short at our bi-monthly awards, and the narrative follows the effects of a man transitioning into a woman, basically, and the effects that has on their family, and in this particular case, Marie's son. And it's just a sensitive subject, but one which the team were very brave to explore, and also conscious of exploring it in a way that is respectful, and they did a great job with it. So it's a really good interview, and some really experienced people in there, especially Marc Baylis, who played Marie, a veteran of Coronation Street. If you're in the UK, you'll know exactly what that is. A long running soap, very popular, and it's a very different role for him, but as he said, he's a professional actor. He has his way of doing things. He prepares for roles, each one differently, so it was a good test for him, and we could go into a bit of detail about how he does that. So it's a good one for actors. Great team. Really enjoyed this one. Really enjoyed this one for sure.
Well, I'll be looking forward to hearing it as well in the edit.
Oh yeah,
because I wasn't there.
You get to, you weren't there, but you always get to listen in on these because you are our editor, as well as on the wire. I'm bringing it back. Yeah, I'm bringing it back, boo. Been watching much at all this week before we go on to the interview?
I watched the first few episodes of a series that's recently started in the UK. Called.
Is that Devs?
No, just every week say Devs.
It's all about the Devs.
I wish I could, but I think I should say something else.
Yeah, a bit of variety, please, Adam.
I started watching a series called Stumptown, which which is quite good.
Excellent. I know the name. I don't know anything else.
But it's set in Oregon.
Okay.
Which makes for a nice backdrop for it anyway.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And it's got Kobe Smulders in from How I Met Your Mother.
Yeah, sure.
And she's playing like a an ex-marine who comes back to the town and is trying to work life out basically, whilst potentially maybe starting to be a bit of a private investigator, given that's kind of like her skill set. So it's a bit of like a spin on a weekly police drama type thing, but it's from her perspective rather than the police. And it's also got Jake Johnson in, which is always going to be pretty good, I reckon. If it's got Jake Johnson in, I think he's good. He brings an energy to stuff, I think, that I quite like. So yeah. How about you?
I am a little bit behind. I finished The Good Place this past week. I know I'm a little bit behind with that. Although I think, did it finish this year? Was it this year that it finished?
Yeah, only like February, I think.
Oh, okay, right. Yeah, so I'm not that far behind. Yeah, I finished that. And now I'm just trying to find my next thing, if you know what I mean. So that's good. As I said to you, we've briefly chatted about this before. Like it's really interesting to watch this basically all in one go, as opposed to over time. I think I actually would have preferred watching it over time, so I could sort of really want to find out what happens next, as opposed to it all having it all there on the plate, ready for whenever. So yeah, but yeah, really good show, really good. Made me think about a lot of things. Spurred the creative mind.
Excellent.
But enough of us. Let's get on to the important things. So, I hope you enjoy this interview. Hello all. Thank you so much for joining us today. We're obviously speaking about your film, My Dad, Marie. What I would say is you can do it together, or just to give the viewers or listeners just a bit of context, can you sort of explain the film to us, give a bit of summary of it, and sort of your roles individually in the film?
I mean, does anyone want to jump in, or shall I? I'll take it on. My dad Marie is a family short that just delves into the relationship between parent and child when during a parent's transitioning. And it's just about navigating that relationship, especially when the child's at a fragile teenage age. My role of the production was the producer. We have Mai, who directed and edited, and Marc, who played the role of Marie.
Excellent. So, I mean, it's one of the things that's most noticeable about the film is just how sensitive a subject it actually is, and how navigating it is quite can be quite a challenge. I think one of the strengths of the film, just outright, is the fact that you guys did a really good job of navigating it so well. But I just before we go into any further detail, just sort of ask, what was the inspiration behind the story of the film? Is it something related to you guys? Is it something that when writing it was very personal to the writing process?
I mean, I very much just wanted to delve into a story that I don't believe is kind of given a lot of time, and being such a fragile kind of concept, I just wanted to, in a sense, educate. It's there are a lot of people out there that won't have a personal tie to the subject or anything, and but would like to know more, or like to just understand as well, because it's such a large process for someone to go through. It was really mainly to just to kind of shine a light and give a chance to tell that story as truthfully as it can be told.
Yeah. So none of us that are present here wrote the film. Actually, it was Rory, who's not with it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
I'm saying like he's dead, like he's not with us right now. I kind of slightly kind of rewrote it. Like the first reason was because I had to, like, I just literally rewrote it like word by word, so it kind of went through me. And then I think I cut quite a few pages off, but I kind of I had to make it with mine. If I was gonna direct it, you know, I needed to see it and I needed to feel it. But the reason I really liked it when Dominic gave me in the beginning was because it was not from the perspective of the person transitioning, but of a person who is affected by the transition. So by the son of a person who is going through that. So it kind of shows all the ripples that this kind of a process has. And I think we can all kind of see eye to eye with like a 16, 17-year-old kid who just doesn't want to face certain things in his life.
Yeah.
And it's exactly that from when we're kind of running in the natural process of it all being put together. But by the time that the script had come through to be it myself or the other members of the cast, you've absolutely hit the nail on the head, Mark, in that I knew from the offset from reading Rory's script that it was a sensitive subject that needed respect. It needed to be told with delicacy, and with the right mindset going into it as well, of being as open as we possibly can in the creative process to tell this tiny snapshot of this family's circumstances that they're currently in. And from meeting with Dom and my kind of early stages of last year, even though we didn't start filming actually in June, I knew from that offset that the team was already in that place to follow on from Rory's script to kind of see it through to the end in the way that it should be carried out and the way that the story should be told. So I think that's how, between the three of us, we all kind of came to working together.
Yeah. And it's I think because I've rewatched it prior to this podcast, and I think what struck me the second time of watching actually as well was the fact that the story isn't finished per se. You know, when they're sitting together at the end, that isn't a finished story. They're going to go on. They're going to have more. The two principal characters there. They're going to have lots more of a journey together to continue their relationship in this changed form. And I actually really liked that aspect of it. The fact that this is just a moment in their lives, but it's very much a groundbreaking moment in the narrative of their relationship. And it's just, I think you've really captured that really well, just to say, right, this is such a dynamic moment in someone's life, and it affects people in such a interesting way, like the son. You know, it's just really well done, and you know, it's just a complete moment, a complete story which you guys told, but there's obviously so much more to be explored. You know, if you were to go on and extend the story or make it into a sequel,
I think the prelude as well, you know, it's kind of how did these people get to this circumstances? We're not just talking about a couple of months, we're talking about years of family life that's that suddenly our chapter of the story delves into post-explosion almost of Marie getting into a place where she is coming out. You know, there's a million stories around and entwined and covering the whole scope of this family's life. You know, and I thought it was quite interesting that Rory actually chose this particular timeline of the family's life and not the prelude or the after, you know. But you're absolutely right. There is no ending as such. It's a new chapter after this particular chapter, you know.
Yeah. Just for a bit of context, guys, is Rory someone that you have worked with before? Is his writing familiar to you, or is it? How did you get involved with the script?
So Rory came to me, God blimey, end of 2018. We originally were going to work together and form a company with a third party who ended up going to doing a master's over in the States. Okay. And then it kind of went a bit quiet. We thought we'd just start working on other bits and pieces. And he originally wrote this as a radio play, and then came to me saying that he sees it more filmic. So I gave it a read, and we worked together towards a first draft, and then brought Mai in from there. So we were working on the script for probably just over 18 months before we got to a stage where we could even consider casting. And we were working with Jane Hamlin at the Beaumont Society, and just to really make sure that everything was in the right place before moving forward. Mm-hmm. So this was the first thing that we'd made with Rory, but we were working together for quite a while until we got to that position.
Sure. Yeah. We've been working on a film of our own, and it is quite amazing, even for something which is, I think our runtime is going to be about 15-16 minutes, and it's amazing how long you can be working on something for that length of time, because it doesn't really matter if the subject matter is in depth and it has a lot of nuance to it. Hopefully within the scripts, then you can really be working on something for so long. So yeah, I mean, we understand for sure that things can take time, but that working process is just a very creative one, and a very fun, and hopefully one which has a good result in the end. And you guys definitely achieved that. Just wanted to touch upon Marc, this one's more for you really, but it's related to all of you. So we've sort of spoke about this story being very a sensitive one, but probably quite a different one for most of you, would you say? Especially for you, Marc. Like I know some of your previous roles, and Marie is just a very different character to what you've probably been used to working as before. Can you just talk a little bit about sort of what it was like to maybe break away from any particular molds that you've worked with, or to just explore something so different, perhaps? As well for you, Mai, like, is this something that you've maybe directed this sort of story before, or is it something that very new to you, very unique?
From going on from that, I mean, to be honest, the way that I worked on creating Marie didn't necessarily differ from any other role. It's kind of over the past 25 odd years, I've kind of worked out a way of working that suits me, that I feel comfortable with, that makes me find a way of telling a story in the most effective way, more than anything else. That essentially is the actor's job, to not just stand where you're told to be stood and say what you're meant to say, but to bring something to life. And so, my process wasn't really any different. It is certainly a subject matter that I almost touched on it before. I auditioned for a role that was a similar set of circumstances, but that was many, many years ago. So for me, it was just about getting into the world, educating myself as much as I possibly can, following the guidance of Dom and Mai, and especially Jane, again, from the Beaumont Society. I worked, we had very long discussions about her particular circumstances, not anybody that we shouldn't have been talking about or anything like that, but I just felt that it was a story that I could tell well and could do a good job of, and it just grew from there, really. It's about having the courage to take on a challenge, I guess.
Absolutely. And is it a similar sort of thing for you, Mai? Is there some, is this something that you may have worked on in a similar way? Because every story is, has a beginning, middle, and end sort of thing, and it has a very similar, similarities across stories. But was this something that presented new challenges for you?
Yeah, definitely. I've never done anything similar to that, and from the beginning, it was quite difficult for me because I never had such an experience. You know, it's a very unique experience. Not a lot of people go through it. And but then I kind of, as I mentioned, and I realized that this is actually about a story about a kid who doesn't want to face a certain problem. And I've been there. You know, I've been a 17-year-old kid who didn't want to go through certain things. So when I flipped it to that perspective, then suddenly everything clicked in place for me, as far as I'm concerned. But it was definitely, I think it's one of those films where like acting is so important, because we, as you've mentioned, it's like it's almost like an observation. From the very beginning, we wanted to make it almost just as a window, you know, just to give to people, okay, look, here's this family, you get to watch it for this 15 minutes or whatever, this part of their life, and then we leave them back, and then whatever happens with them whatever happens with them afterwards, and whatever happened beforehand. And also the camera, everything worked in kind of in order to follow that philosophy. Is that even a good word? But it was we had 2 days of rehearsals. How many? Yeah. And we did one thing which I think helped immensely, and we just kind of because it was so new for everyone, we improvised. They improvised. I just gave the idea. The moment when it happened, when basically Marie came out to his wife, or was it David, or what was her name before? Doesn't matter. To his wife and to the son that he wants to transition, and then he's a woman. And it was such, I mean, Marc can tell you more about this. It was such a strong experience. I remember it was like 10, 15 minutes it took for the whole scene to go through. And by the end, I almost felt I shouldn't be there, because it was I felt like I'm intruding in a very, very, very intimate moment of a family. And I was just sitting there, and I was like, oh, maybe should I say something or anything? And even then, when we were filming, I think we were able to draw a lot from that moment, when, especially that very specific scene in the living room when they are confronted. I think we took like 11 takes or whatever, and every time it was a different. I remember, Marc, you just kept coming with new, like we did 11 takes, and I remember every single take you had such a bit of a different nuance. And after take 10, we were like, okay, guys, as I said, I'm good, let's cut it. And then Marc said, look, can we just have one more? I want to try something. And he just absolutely nailed it. And that's the one that's in the film as well.
Wow.
And I think it became, I think we all had problems, you know, kind of coming to that point, because it's such a completely unique, you know, it's experience. But in the end, I think we all kind of managed to get a grasp of kind of what's it like, and hopefully it projects through as well.
Yeah, it was that couple of days of rehearsal, and I completely agree, Maj, that you know, you when you come into a project, yes, you communicate on the build up to rehearsal if you're fortunate enough to have rehearsal. I think this was a project that needed rehearsal, especially because of the three characters being the family. And just whilst we're on that note, it's Jennifer Preston that plays Janine and Harry Pudwell that plays Charlie. And I mean, Harry himself, he's just graduating this year from drama school, so it was a huge challenge and huge project for him to take on, you know, especially given the subject matter. You know, it's kind of like if I was his age and approaching a project like this, you know, I don't even know how I would have approached it, to be honest with you. So kind of hats off for him for taking on the challenge of Charlie. But just locking ourselves in that room for a couple of days, it enabled us to be able to kind of give different options on different takes, which I'm sure was an absolute nightmare for the editing. But you know, it's kind of, you have to play around with it. You've got characters that hopefully I believe, or you know, we've all managed to bring them to life, and if a character truly is alive, then there should be different nuances in different takes, and it shouldn't be kind of the factory filmmaking or TV making. And I earlier on stand here and say that it's because that can happen from time to time, but this certainly wasn't that type of project. And so to lock ourselves in 80 degrees of heat under the railways in South London was probably the best thing that we did on this project.
Yeah, it's amazing. Like nuance, really, it's probably, if you can balance nuance and capture it well on camera, you can really represent real life, I think, because in real life situations, if you say a word just, I'm not going to say the wrong way, but one way, it could have such different repercussions to a relationship, to different people, and yeah, I mean the way that it was presented by you guys, I mean, just knowing that there are more ways you could have played that scene, and did, and that was the one that you chose to go with, and was it just a very much a how to put this, like when watching it back, Mark, and seeing that they chose that take to go with, like, did that feel right to you? Was that at the end the scene the take which you were like, yeah, that's the one I felt the most comfortable, that expressed it best? Or was it something that was just any of these could be?
Yeah, to be completely honest, until it's actually been highlighted to me now, I wasn't exactly sure which take it was. It's kind of I think that was the thing with taking on this type of role, is that once I've got the skin on the character and all of that kind of stuff, I can't really be, I can't be editing it whilst I'm on set. There's other jobs that I have been able to do that, or have had to do that, and kind of think, okay, so we've got this coming up later on in the film, what are we going to do with this, that wasn't my way of working on this project. It was literally, I've got one job to do, and that's to tell Marie's side of this triangular family storyline, So I'm glad that it was that take, and I'm glad that Mai gave me the opportunity to give that take. But until now, I couldn't have been sure.
So I mean, just sort of on that, but on a slightly different angle, in terms of so you were allowed to explore a few 11 takes you mentioned. So obviously with that comes the element of like scheduling, for example. What sort of time constraints were you under? I know you worked in some of the hottest weather in the UK, so I know it was challenging from that aspect. But in terms of scheduling, did you have a lot of freedom to work with, or was it very contained within a short weekend or whatever? Obviously, it would have been probably a little bit more, but just can you talk about that a little bit? Just to, what sort of challenges you faced there?
So, if memory serves, we had a week-long shoot, which included the 2 days of rehearsals, and I'd say that the main restraint we had was locations and things. Like for the few house sets, we were renting places. So obviously we have a very very small window of opportunity to actually get our things shot. And the main challenge was the heat throughout the whole week, which I'm really happy is you can't tell in the final film. But like when you have 5 or 6 industrial fans and a hell of a lot of equipment, then it does start proving quite a challenge, and just constant water being ferried around between takes. And I think the time restraint kind of became a second issue, trying to combat the weather.
Yeah, there's one take where they stop with the car in front of the house, and then Harry goes out and knocks on the door. That was shot on the hottest day last summer at around 2 p.m. I believe it was, like 35 degrees or something. And I have a photo of the whole crew. And can I even say this? This was slightly illegal because we were staying in the middle of the road, no permits, nothing. We had 2 high-vis jackets. So one runner was at one side of the road, and I believe you, Dominic, was on the other side. and we just kind of stopped the traffic for 2 minutes. And it was the most complex shot in the whole film, because the car had to stop, then they had to talk, and he had to go out, and he had to hit a very exact spot, and they had to lock their eyes, and she had to drive. I mean, it was a nightmare. I think we did like 3 retakes or something, and it was absolutely melting, like on the black tarmac, 35 degrees or whatever. But yeah, we did it, and and it looks good.
Yeah. No, it actually adds to it, because obviously there's an element of intensity which comes across, which is really nice. Well, that could be chance, but obviously it could be that as well. But yeah, it helps, makes it look really, really nice. So I mean, I'll just sort of touch a little bit upon, I guess, the kind of what's next for you all, really, because obviously this film has done I think some, showcased all of your talents, but I mean, is there something that a project like this, which is quite different, which has a message behind it and a purpose, and or just capturing that element of society, is it something that you like doing? Is it something that you, for example, as a director, or as a producer, or as an actor, for example, is it something that you're going to go forward and do again? So would you try and do something very different next time? And work with the challenges there, or is it something that this is maybe a one-time thing and you've actually got some sort of specialisms or genre trends or something like that? Is it something that you like doing as individuals, but also as a team, perhaps?
I mean, I love the story, and as we discussed earlier, it's very much a snapshot of this family's narrative. And when the script was being developed, I immediately started thinking like where it could go afterwards, or where could it have come from, and all that kind of thing. It's a narrative I'd love to revisit with a longer running time. I'm never going to say no to that, because I find I very much love this story and want to explore it more. But other than that, I've, as I said before when we were chatting, like working on a few things in like pre-production, and been reading a lot of scripts during the whole the lockdown thing, because it's kind of, as we said, been a bit of a blessing when it comes to pre-production. We have a bit more time to meticulously take our time through stuff. So yeah.
Okay. Interesting.
Yeah. I couldn't say I'm specializing in any kind of genre. I just kind of whatever feels interestingly challenging, I guess. Because for this one the biggest challenge for me was just working with the actors, because of the depths and because of just the experiences that they're going through it. And it's really hard to how do I, as the director, tell the actor where do I want you to get now? And I just realized I'm telling a lot of stories from the set, but anyway, they tend to be interesting. Yes. I remember there's one shot, and I was telling you, Mark, of how I kind of want the result and how I want it to be in the end, and the editing, and you just stopped me and said, it doesn't help me. Like I don't care how it's gonna be edited. Like, to me as an actor, this is bullshit. And I just, okay, this is bullshit. And it was so good. I had, like, whenever I start thinking, this pops out. No, okay, we need to go back to the reason where this is coming from. Blah blah. It was such a good, because every film that you do, it's such a learning curve. At least for me, I tend to learn so much, and this one was, from an aspect of working with actors, was amazing. And actually, just now I've realized that. So I shot one film which I wrote myself. I shot it 3 months later in September, and it's completely different. It's like a fantasy, but it's again from a perspective of a 17-year-old kid, right, which is odd. I mean, these two projects are completely unconnected, completely unrelated, but yeah, it's kind of goes. And it's also doing right now. We'll be going around festivals, see how we can do. But same as Dominic, just trying not to go crazy and keeping myself busy during the lockdown.
For sure. Yeah,
I think that is the thing. It's a very interesting time for us all, isn't it? In the fact that our hands are somewhat tied to a certain respect, but it's I mean, I've kind of lost various bits and pieces throughout the year, as everyone has throughout the industry, so it's kind of I'm looking at this situation that we're all in together, that it's a kind of a fresh start when we get back. So I've kind of been doing a bit of housekeeping as such, and getting material together. I've got a few other projects that are also on the festival circuit at the moment, and I've been fortunate enough to kind of carry on a couple of voice projects that I've been on for the past couple of years, which should tie me through for the remainder of this year. But apart from that, it is that thing of kind of reading scripts and seeing what's upcoming through with other people that I've worked with before. We're hoping to get a couple of projects off the ground once we're back up and running as such. But it's funny old times. But then that's kind of the producing side of it. But from an actor's point of view, the calls come in when the calls come in. It doesn't matter who or what you've done. It's who you are or what you've done. We're all waiting for that phone call to ring, or even I should say emails. We're not in the 80s now, are we? So yeah, it's an interesting time. But I'm sure that a lot of people have been writing some hopefully great scripts whilst we've been on lockdown, and hopefully we can all get back on set or pre-production as soon as possible.
Yeah, it's obviously what everyone in this industry is probably looking for, and hopefully this period of time will just allow for some great scripts to come about. Just we won't go into too much, go too further, because obviously it's a really nice day. We'd like you guys to enjoy it in whatever way you can. But obviously you're a very experienced group of people, and just this advice and your words, I think will be very helpful for people. So I mean, if there's just anything you can share, maybe on things like you were talking, Mai, about you treat every project as a bit of a learning curve. So is that the same for you all? Is it something that every project is different, and there's just something which just stays with you and you take on to the next project? And is it, would you say it's good to just have that mindset of just let it all in, absorb it, and then maybe improve, just to improve yourself? Because everyone wants to improve. But
I think you've hit the nail on the head. I think it's 100% that, it's kind of earlier on I'd mentioned that I've got a certain way of working that suits me. It might not suit another person, but it does suit me. But, I've certainly, on this particular project, it's probably the most responsibility that I've ever held, by taking on a role to represent a person, a human being that is in a set of circumstances that does need to be discussed, to have awareness raised about, to have far less discrimination attached towards it overall through society, and to take on a role like that, I've 100% learned many things on this particular project that I haven't or couldn't have learned on another project. And if you put that all into a big melting pot and you push forward and you keep your head when times are hard, and you celebrate when times are good, then you're only going to get better the longer that you do something, and hopefully the enjoyment will stay intact and only grow as well. I think that's the key thing with anything that anyone does, is enjoy it. I think that's the key thing.
Absolutely. Yeah, nice, good message. And what about you, Dob? Is it something that so you treat every script differently, and when it comes to you and you get excited about it, is it something which that is going to challenge you, but sure, I'll learn from this and be a better in whatever department that you want to be working with in the future? Is that the same?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, you have to go into every project with an open mind, and I've learned something big or small on every job that I've ever had, and I think that's something that everyone can, that this industry is forever changing and becoming something different or going in different directions. So it's impossible to A, know everything, and B, to stop learning. So I've always taken every project that I've ever done as an opportunity to learn something new or hone what I already know. So
Excellent. Yeah, nice. And yourself, Maya, I know you mentioned it before. Is it the same? Like, I mean, was it a surprise that you were just like, oh, right, okay, this is a new way that I have to work? Does that happen for you on every film that you direct?
Oh yeah, definitely. It's like I'm actually surprised that every film that I start, I actually finish. Always. I remember the last film I shot, the one I shot in September, was like the second day, the morning, I was talking to my wife, we were eating breakfast, and this is just ridiculous. Like because it was self-financed, and I just look, this is all my life savings is in there. Why did you even let me do this? It's ridiculous. It's never gonna get off the floor. We're never going to finish it. We have like 5 different locations from London to Hastings, and it's just a nightmare. And every single thing that could go wrong went wrong. And even my producer said, dude, this is too big. We're not gonna, there's no way we're gonna do it. But we kind of did. and no, I mean, yeah, this is another project, not supposed to talk about it, but we actually got, what's his name? Brian Blessed to do the voiceover. Wow. After like everything that went wrong. Yeah. It's just a kind of, I don't know. It's, I guess, it's just kind of proving to yourself that if you just set yourself to do something and you just 100% set your mind to do it, like things will come your way and everything will click together. And you will have a finished result that you will be, usually a year after it's finished, you will go look at it and you'll go, oh, this is actually a pretty good thing with it. It's not actually half as bad as I thought in the beginning. I don't know if that gives you any answer. I went
around right now. Yeah, because I mean that's perfect. I mean we always try and end on some sort of advice sharing because I think we all have relatively similar experiences as filmmakers, but at the same time, like we might have listeners that are just starting. We might have some that have been doing it for years. We're who knows? So at the very least, if people can relate, then that's great. If they can learn, then even better. And if there's a nugget of wise words from you guys, which just helps somebody along the way, we're all about sharing that out. So every time that there's struggle, hopefully something really good comes out of it. And yeah, just really look forward to seeing that film as well, and any future projects that you guys work on. I
was going to say as well, Mark, if you don't mind me jumping in,
go for it.
I've done this thing where I get too captivated listening and I forget that I'm supposed to be asking you guys questions. So I do apologise, but it was interested listening there. Basically, what I do want to say is, having watched the film My Dead Marie, and how collectively you guys have taken a very complex issue but made it very relatable in all different aspects, from direction, writing, acting, and everything else. And I really hope you guys take it quite far and wide, because it's so relatable in many ways, for something that people don't necessarily understand themselves, but they might be able to take bits from it that they can relate to, and therefore understand the sort of wider social difficulties that come with this topic. I think this film could go a long way, and therefore equally I think you guys as individuals could all go a long way as well, if this is the sort of thing you're doing. And I think it's a really good sign. I really enjoyed watching it, which is why you won the award. So yes.
Thank you so much, man. It's so nice talking to you guys, because you make us sound like we actually know what we're doing.
Dom's actually telling me what to say in my ear.
As all good producers should. I mean, it's okay, guys. So we'll sort of start wrapping it up now. But obviously, you've got this project, you've got all the other ones you've got in like the pipeline. Is there any way that people can follow you guys, keep up to date with what you guys are doing, social media, whatever you want to promote, really?
Yeah, so My Dad Marie has its own Twitter page, which is at My Dad Marie Short, where you can follow our updates in festivals and X, Y, and Z. On that, the production company Minoan Pictures has its own Instagram account of the same name. So, and that will keep everyone up to date with this project, future projects that we're going to be making, and we're then through that you can find Mai and Marc and so we're doing our best to keep everyone informed with our progress, because being a small budget film, we've got a percentage of our budget through crowdfunding, so we have a lot of people that we would need to thank for allowing us to even to get the film finished. So we have a lot of people to keep up to date with our progress.
Brilliant. And Mai, have you got things that other people?
Well, since I can plug now officially, you can go on YouTube and search for Not an Englishman, and then subscribe to the channel, and then follow whatever stupid stuff I'm up to. It's basically it's stuff that I learn when I'm on sets and writing films and directing, and just kind of sharing this stuff with other people which might find it helpful. And also, I'm kind of trying to keep up to date whatever I'm coming up with and what I'm doing. And there's all the links to my websites and everything in the descriptions, and all the like buttons and everything that comes with YouTube.
Excellent. And Marc?
So I'm absolutely dreadful at social media. Sometimes I'll be quite emphatic and brilliant, and you could possibly see a freshly grown vegetable or a loaf that I've currently baked in lockdown, and that's on Marc with a C _Baylis 1S on Twitter, and any other real projects that I'm working on, I'll be popping some stuff on there, and also trying to raise awareness of other projects that are trying to get off the ground that I might not even be involved with as well.
Can I just say that I am officially your 1,000th follower on Instagram?
Whose?
Yours, Marc.
Do you know the last time that I logged into Instagram,
literally I came on, it was 999, and now you have 1,000. You are welcome.
Jeez. Maybe we should give that look at that. There it is. There it is.
Start using it more now, Marc.
Yeah. Maybe I should put more effort into that.
I'm glad we could announce that though. That's amazing. It feels like we need a cake for something now. Yeah. Well, thank you once again, guys. It's honestly a pleasure to speak to you and a pleasure to watch your film. Thank you for submitting, and we'd love in the future to have you guys back on, because you all seem. I mean, I know you might profess to not knowing anything, but you guys are a pleasure to speak to, and we learned a lot from it. So, thank you so much for coming on. Hopefully, we'll talk again.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for having us, man.
Thanks to the team behind My Dad Marie. And well done to you, Marc. Another good interview.
Thank you very much.
just like to praise.
Oh right, okay. I mean, this is new.
Yep. I mean, if Al was here, I'd say well done to him as well.
No, you wouldn't. No,
well, he's not here.
No.
So we don't have to cross that bridge.
Fair enough. Well,
no, I treat you both as equals.
Yeah, well,
equal associates.
Excellent. I mean, it's good to know.
But in all seriousness, a good interview with good people.
Yeah, thank you. Like I think I said this in the intro. I really valued the professionalism that this team brought to the project, and the fact that they saw something in the material, in the writing, and just really wanted to explore it and express it in the best way possible. And I think Al mentioned, he mentions at the end that if they wanted to, they could do a lot with this, because they tackled the subject in a way which was very well done. So, and that is still a subject which is very much sensitive to a lot of people and needs to be expressed in the right way, and they did a good job, and I'm really glad that we could share in that journey with them a little bit. So look out for it.
It's nice to contrast their professionalism
with
in the interview with our non-professionalism in podcast hosting, in our intros and outros. It'll show them off to be a lot better.
Yeah. Basically. I mean, what I remember what we were chatting about once, how mushrooms get their sunlight or something. That was how we opened one of the podcasts.
Yeah, how mushrooms get vitamin D. I think that was one of the highlights. If you look at the analytics,
is that one of the better ones?
I don't know. I just like to think there was a big drop off after.
Not a spike, because if there's a spike, then that's people telling us to be as wacky as we can.
And just about mushrooms though. So any more mushroom facts, then we'll have to do some research for next week.
Yeah, we might have to. Yeah. Well, I don't know. Just like last few weeks ago, like getting into that Royal Mail, post office. Well, it is the post office, so they are office. Sorry, this is going back a few weeks. The post office.
Officers of the post.
They are officers. Yeah.
I guess so. Yeah.
Anyway, let's not. People don't want to hear about this.
No,
they don't want to
get. Do you have a code for us?
I do have a code. I do, and this one's a good one because it has, as always, 10% off. 10% code. Yep. Anyway, pen and papers at the ready, please. Right. So WDPOD 521. That is. Is that correct? Yes, that is correct. Yes. Sorry.
So the professionalism coming through again.
I know. Yeah, it was correct. I doubt myself. WDPOD 521, and just one more time, just to absolutely confirm. WDPOD 521.
Excellent.
Did you get that, Adam?
No, I wasn't listening. But I'm sure the listeners were.
Yes.
Because they might care more about it than I do.
Yes. 10% off your submissions into the festival runs for this week only, and
well, it's just proof as well that we don't enter our own films into the film festival because I don't want the code for myself, because I don't want to be judged by myself.
No, because you would get a very low score if you did that, probably.
I would. It's nothing to do with the ethics. It's just that I hate everything that I create.
Well, they say that, don't they? Like, if you hate your own stuff, it means you're like willing to improve, so you always strive to be better. If you get to the point where you're like, oh yeah, I really like that. That was really good. Then you've reached
stop.
That's it.
Yeah.
You may as well stop. Reached your zenith, the peak.
Yep.
Maybe that's worth talking about one day, but not today. We should end this torture for everyone. All right, everyone. Have a great day and chat later.
Bye.
Bye.